hello. As you can see, I got a different shirt on than you're going to see from the rest of the video. But today is Friday, June 6th. D-Day, I think it was. I think it's D-Day. Anyway, we have a birthday today. Today is Steve Lopez's birthday. So, Steve, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Well, I hope you have a great birthday, Steve, because you're the only one that let me know it was your birthday today. But we have an anniversary because today is Paul and Kat, K-A-T. Today is Paul and Kat's anniversary, 10 years. Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Happy, 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 happy anniversary. Happy, 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 happy anniversary. Well, I hope you have a great anniversary, but it's also Annette and Ian Blumenthal, or is it Ian? I never know how to pronounce that. But anyway, it's their 44th anniversary. Is it 44? No, wait a minute. I take that back. 54. They were married in 1971. 54. Boy, I almost took 10 years away from you. Those are 10 hard years sometimes. I know, because Jim and I will be married 54 years this year too. It hasn't been smooth the whole 54 years, but you know what? We're still together after 54 years, so something went all right. And I'm sure everything's going fine for you too. So, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy anniversary. Well, I hope you have a great, great anniversary. Sorry, I almost cheated you out of 10 years. Anyway, when I left this morning, I wore a sweatshirt because it was really cool in here and it was pouring rain and very cloudy. You couldn't see anything because, well, it's not so much cloudy. Well, obviously it was cloudy because it was raining. But we went for Jim's heart doctor's appointment. And like I said, it was kind of cool when I left. But as the day progressed and the sun came out, finally. It was very hazy from the smoke from the wildfires in Canada. But now the sun is out and it's getting really bright and it's getting a little warm. So I put a short sleeve shirt on, my Michigan shirt, put that on. So we went to Jim's heart doctor, and I'll show you the clips from that later on, but a little quick explanation. It's like everywhere we go around my neighborhood now, there's construction. So I'm going to show you some construction along the way. No, let me take that back. I'm going to show you some orange cones that we've encountered everywhere we went today, but no worker bees. I don't understand why they do that. They put miles and miles and miles of orange cones up, but nobody's working. So I don't understand the point of it. I really don't. In my subdivision, they're finally fixing the road, which is awful. It's just off. The two ways to get into my subdivision, they're like, it's like it'd be easier to drive on a dirt road because it's just, there's so many potholes and they've tried to fix them and it's awful. So they're finally going to supposedly fix them, but the orange cones have been up for probably about 2 weeks now. They were supposed to start this morning, and when Jim and I left at noon, they still hadn't been working, but all the orange cones are there. So, and even when we came back, we got home about 4 o'clock. Orange cones still up, no workers. So I don't know what's going on with that. But so when we get to his heart doctor's appointment, and there's like, it's a really big practice. I think there's 10 heart doctors in this one particular building. And well, I don't know that there's 10 doctors, but they do a lot of testing there too. They do like the CAT scans and, like when you go for your, like when they put the dye in you and they check you and all that good stuff. And you go on the treadmill and do your stress tests and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on there. And we get there, and there was probably, in the parking lot, that probably holds between 75 and 100 cars, maybe 10 cars, 12 cars at the most. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to get in and out of this real quick because we're not even seeing the doctor. We're seeing the physician's assistant. And so we go in, Jim signs in, and then tells you like what a small world. Cindy, who was Jimmy's first wife, her sister walked in and she says, oh my God, they'll let anybody in here. And I recognized her right away. Jim didn't recognize her. So then when she went up to sign in, he says, who is that? I says, it's Cindy's sister. I was trying to be real quiet, and he goes, who? And I'm thinking, oh my God, shut up. So I says, it's Cindy's sister, Debbie. And she says, oh, okay. So then she come on, we talked for a little bit, and then they called us back there. Jim's appointment was at 12:30. We got there about 20 after 12. They took us in the back about 25 to 1. And then at 5 after 1, Jim says, what time is it? And I says, it's 5 after. Well, the nurse that took us in took his blood pressure and his temperature and all that, weighed him and all that stuff. And then about 5 after 10 after, he says, what time is it? And I says, it's almost 10 after. And he says, well, I'm ready to go. I said, Jim, I think you're a jinx, because last time we went, we sat, remember? And he walked out. And so then it gets to be almost 1:30. He says, well, I've had enough of this. I said, Jim, this is your heart doctor. This is an important doctor. The other one is just like checking you every 3 or 4 months just to make sure you're okay. This is your heart doctor. Because he's got a stent put in. I says, we're not fooling around with this. We're going to wait. And then just then she pops her head in, and she says, I'm really sorry this is taking so long. You have one person ahead of you. Well, Jim must have shot her a look. What I like about her, which first of all, we thought we were seeing the physician's assistant, and then we turned out, no, we're seeing the actual doctor. But what I like about her is that she takes her time with you. What I don't like about her is that she takes her time with you, because she loses all track of time talking to you about anything and everything, and answers all your questions in great detail. Doesn't like give you a brush off or anything like that. She devotes all of her attention to your problems, which is nice when you're the one getting all that attention, but it's not nice when you're the one sitting waiting to get all that attention. So, he just kind of shot her the look, and so she said, well, do you need any of your prescriptions refilled? And Jim says, no, the nurse already asked me that, and all my prescriptions are fine. So she says, well, let's just listen to your heart, so I can get my charges in, because she's got humor at least. And so she listened to his heart, had him breathe in and all that. And so she says, so you're doing fine? And Jim says, yeah, I'm doing fine. And so she says, oh, okay. She says, did I give you this card? And she's showing me her card. And I'm thinking, well, we have her card. But I thought, well, maybe it's a new card. So I said, no, you didn't give me that card. So she says, oh, just a minute. So she writes her cell phone number. She says, this is my cell phone number. And I said, okay. I'm thinking, did she hear something in Jim's heart that she's not telling us right off? And then she says, no. She says, she got real quiet. She says, I'm going to be leaving the practice. My lawyer is working on the logistics of it right now, because I've been here for 35 years with this practice, with 3 other doctors that we originally started the practice with. But over the years, we've, had younger people. She put younger doctors come in, and they have a different work ethic than us. And I'm just tired of sharing my profits with someone that doesn't work as hard as I do. So she says, so the 3 of us are going to go off and form another practice. So we're dealing with the lawyers right now. And if you want to follow me, let me know. But if you don't, that's not a big deal. And Jim says, oh, no, we're following you wherever you go. And so she says, well, I'm glad to hear that. She says, but this is my cell phone number. And so she says, originally we were going to be 8 going, but 4 of them want to go to McLaren, which I don't know how they are. McLarens are around in your area. The McLaren Hospital in my area, I wouldn't bring my dog to. It's just, it's an awful hospital. And anybody I've talked to that are around here, they all say the same thing. It's just awful. So I said, well, then I think we're going to be finding another doctor. She says, no, wait a minute. I am not going to McLaren. She says, no. She says, I wanted to either go to Henry Ford or the Ascension. And I says, well, those 2 we'll go to. I says, as a matter of fact, they're closer than the Beaumont, which is where we're at right now. And so she says, no, I'm working on that. And she says, where do you live? And she says, remind me again where you live. And I said, well, we live in New Baltimore. And she says, because my practice is going to be closer to that. And I go, well, we'll go wherever you're going because we really like you. So she says, okay. So then she says, so you don't need me to give you the full workup? Jim says, no, I think we're fine. And so she says, okay, so here's my card. When you're leaving, don't make another appointment because I'm going to be leaving on August 14th. And I says, well, that's my mother's birthday. I said, I'll remember that. And so she says, oh, okay. She says, so when you go up there, they're going to try to make you make another appointment. if you can make an appointment and then cancel it if you want, but if you don't remember, one of their practices now is to charge you a full office visit when you don't show up, and insurance doesn't pay a no-show. She says that's one of the things they're doing that I don't like. And so I says, okay. So she says, just say that when you get home, you have to check your calendar at home before you make a decision, and then we'll go from there. And so I said, okay. So then I get up to the counter, and because Jim went to the bathroom, and I said, well, we're just checking out, and so she says, would you like to make an appointment? And I says, no, we're gonna wait and call back. And she's, let me guess, you got to check your calendar when you get home. We've had a lot of that the last couple days. I says, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So she says, oh, okay. And then she just kind of smiled because, they know what's going on. They're not stupid. But I never thought, you'd have lawyers involved. But I can understand that. I guess there's a lot of paperwork and stuff to go with it. And then we wanted to go to breakfast. I told her we were going to go to my favorite pancake house, which was my dad's favorite, which my dad used to take us to all the time, and they were closed for remodeling. And so then we just did a lot of running. We went to the fruit market and got some lunch meat and some fruit and vegetables. And then we went to his cheese store, which is just another store, but he likes pimento cheese, which we can't find anywhere but this one particular store. So we go there. And then we came home, and I watched a really good movie on Netflix. It just came down today, Straw, with Taraji B. Henson. It's a Tyler Perry movie. Excellent. It's a serious movie, but you know what? It had me crying. It was like so. It's not based on a true story, but it's based on stuff that can happen in life, and it was very touching, and it was a very good movie. It's like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, but I would highly recommend it. It's called Straw, STRAW, on Netflix. So check that out if you want to watch a good movie. And then last night, Jim and I watched The Accountant 2 with Ben Affleck. And there's one scene where there's a big shootout, and there was the first casualty of the shootout. Let me show you the first casualty of the shootout. Okay, the first casualty of The Accountant was my clock. But Jim seems to think he can put it together. Yeah, my snowman clock. Sebastian and Oliver got me that one because they're a year apart. So Sebastian would have been 5, and Sebastian would have been 6, and Oliver would have been 5. And I like it because there's like little numbers in there, and you can switch the date. So every morning I would change the date, so at least I'd know what day it was, or the date. So that kind of helped me stay on track with that. But there was one scene in The Accountant when I have it sitting on the. We have surround sound on the TV in the living room, and the base box is where the snowman clock sits, and we had the music was kind of the sound was kind of loud with the sound bar, and when they started the shootout, spoiler alert, there's a shootout. Anyway, during the shootout, they started all the machine guns, and the vibration from the sound bar went, and then my snowman bounced right off and fell flat on his face and busted into a couple hundred, not 100 pieces, but it busted up into some pieces. And so then Jim and I just kind of looked at it, and I said, first casualty of The Accountant. Nobody got killed up until that point. My snowman was the first one to go. But Jim seems to think he can fix it, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he can. I don't know. But other than that, let me show you what my day consisted of. Kind of like clips of the day clipped together. And I know, I don't, not to get political in that, but I loved watching the little feud between two childish man babies, between Musk and Trump yesterday, with their little Twitter war going back and forth. It reminded me of junior high. I'm thinking, they're grown-ass men. It's like, back in the day when I was like, we would write notes to each other, or we would just like yell at each other or something, and it was just us involved. It wasn't like the whole world. Nowadays, the whole world gets involved in a little feud. But it was fun to watch. As a gawking bystander, I loved it. It was sad. It was sad to see it, but it was fun to watch. The immature part of me was loving every minute of it. Okay, let me continue on, show you the rest of my day. And I forgot to brush my hair, James. But it looks okay, doesn't it?
It looks superb.
We are on our way to Jim's regular checkup with his heart doctor, although I think we're going to see the physician's assistant. I couldn't think of what it was yesterday. So we're going to go see her. I think it's a her. And I'll take you with me on my day. So let's get it rolling. And so it begins. Miles and miles and miles of orange cones with not one worker in sight. 2 seasons in Michigan, winter and construction. Well, judging by the parking lot, we shouldn't be in here long because there's hardly anybody here. Look at all the empty spaces. Tons and tons. And now we wait. Jim takes a nap. I read my book. Actually, we're seeing the doctor. We thought we were just seeing the what do you call it, the physician's assistant, but no, we've been informed we are actually seeing the doctor. So we'll see how that goes. Well, so much for thinking it was going to be a quick visit. We did see the doctor. We were waiting 45 minutes. Who'd have thunk with a parking lot that was practically empty? And then I think it's good news, Jim.
What?
That she's moving to a different practice. Because the hospital that she's at right now is like 40 minutes away from our house. And the hospital where she's going to is only like 25 minutes from our house. So if you have any kind of an issue, it's quicker to get there than here. And her offices are going to be moving closer to us than they are now, so we won't have to come as far.
There you go.
So good news. All right. And look at all that filming, Jim, and I wasn't filming. We were going to come to our favorite restaurant, but it looks like it's closed for repairs. Jim's going to go look and see. Oh, well. And here he comes back. Closed?
Open June 8th.
June 8th. We're 2 days early. 2 days early. Well, that's a bummer. I was so looking forward to coming here. This is one of my favorite restaurants because it has not, the remodeling though. Now, I was just going to say, they've never remodeled it since my father used to come here back in the 60s and 70s. Same furniture, same atmosphere, everything, menu.
Same greasy ceiling.
Everything's the same except for the prices. And so I always like coming here because when I sit in a chair, I always think my dad could have sat in this chair at one time. But now that they're remodeling, I won't be able to say that. I'll just have to say my father used to come to this restaurant at one point.
I'm sure they'll still have the same table and chairs.
They've had the same. I know people say that they've refurbished them and stuff like that, but no, they're the same. I've asked my family because they come here too, and they go, no, it's there. It is. So anyway, we're going to go somewhere else now. All right, we just decided to stop at our fruit market, local fruit market. Well, it's not ours. It's near my brother's house. But we stopped here to get some fruits and vegetables. So now we're going to be heading home. Look at all the pretty flowers. I have enough flowers right now, but it's just gorgeous. Jim wanted to stop at his place where he gets his cheese that he likes, so this is our next stop.